This is important. In our lives. And what I know is, again, I'm in my mid-40s, man. At this point in our lives, there's some things that we carry, and it has so many implications, so many things going on in our bodies, in our relationships, with our kids, our families that have been impacted. And so tonight, I borrowed this from a pastor friend of mine in North Carolina for the Assembly, man. Bro, can we talk? Now, I want to let you know, and I want to also, folk who are in Facebook land, I want you guys to know, if we start to get into some heavy content and some vulnerability spaces, man, we don't cut the camera. And I love y'all, but you can come down and be a part of the desire. But I also want to protect the nature of what might be shared. So if it becomes personal, I ain't gonna even say much. I'm gonna look at Dave and I'm gonna cancel the broadcast, but we'll continue. Because it's more about those who are here, it's more about us finding that space to open up and say, but oftentimes we're choked out of it. You know what I mean? To share, but oftentimes we don't feel comfortable with, right? And pushing the envelope or breaking the glass ceiling on how we heal as men, how we heal, what's our perspective on certain things. We've got our men leaders here, Barry, Mike, and Larry. And I know they have been rolling the men's ministry online for the last year and some change, and I'm grateful for everything that you guys are doing. They've also ran through a book that we may revisit at some time, but I wanted tonight to be a different direction. I wanted tonight to have more just regular talk. Now, I do want you to know answers come from the scriptures, but I also want you to realize scriptures come from the people. That says, I wrote on the tablets of your heart, right? So there's some things that you might just open up your mouth and share healing. And then there's going to be a spark. I know this is my own personal testimony. When I can hear somebody talk about something, it also releases me to be able to share sometimes when I was afraid to, or I didn't feel comfortable to. And I'd be like, man, I was going to do that same thing, but I was crazy. Or I thought something was wrong, right? I ain't gonna say that loud. I thought, you know what I mean? I was thinking like there was something wrong with us, but the real deal is, man, we all kind of dealing with, some of that. And so breaking cycles is a real deal topic tonight, right? What does it mean for a man to be transparent? And how do we get to that place where, like, I can be open and not cover up and protect spaces, right? And protect what we know as an image of a man, right? And tearing down, casting down all these ideals, man, that make us unhealthy. I've lived an unhealthy life as a man, and I know it, right? I'm pastor, I don't care, right? I'm a whole pastor in these streets, right? I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a dad, I'm a bunch of things in title and function. But there's some things that I've carried, man. What's going on, good brother?
Hey,
how you doing, man? Welcome.
All right.
There's some things, man, that I've carried that has made me unhealthy, and it has promoted unhealthy decision making, right? It has promoted some stuff, man, just like, wow. As I reflect back, I could have been a better person. I could have been a better human on this. Could have been a better man. And without being judgmental of my father or people who reared me, my community, church, you know what I mean? Without being judgmental and casting blame on what happened or what did not happen, I'm taking onus, and I want to share the ownership with you, and you share the ownership with me, man, of us being honest as men. How do we, correct some of this stuff, right? Our communities are filled right now with a whole bunch of brothers, who are struggling with what it means to be a man. And it comes out in false identities, it comes out in false narratives, it comes out in a whole bunch of ways, and we see it, but quite honestly, sometimes we're afraid to speak to it. One, because we've probably been there, but also we may not really have an answer alone. I ain't got this whole package or this whole answer for any of this stuff, but I know it resides in all of us as community, as beings coming together. So you might share something with me, Xavier, that helped me say, you know what, I got to deal with that part of me. That part that was, as a little boy, that was broken and afraid to do, right? And so now at this point, I need help. And what you may share in your testimony, Mike, Aaron's, Pat, all of us, what we may share in our testimonies and our discovery may be the ice pick that breaks the cold stuff off of somebody else's heart. That's one of my good friends right there, Cameron. And we've had some real men talk, but we've also struggled with some of the ideas man, hey, we've carried some junk, just ain't cool. And it became the norm in our lives. It became like, you know what, man, I don't know why I'm carrying this, right? And I can't just blame, you know, the offender. I can't just blame, you know, what happened or what didn't happen. The real deal is this. This is for me. And this may not be for y'all. I'll open it up in just a second. But I realize, man, an offense is a one-time event. Somebody did something to me, and I got jumped by a whole bunch of dudes, right, when I was in Detroit. My 8th grade year, hospital, so they kicked me in my temple one more time, I wouldn't have been here. Jumped, right? That was an event. What I carried after that was offense. That was my choice to carry. Nobody made me carry offense, right? Now, nobody made them do what they did, but I didn't have to continue on in that madness, right? Now, I'm not going to even share because the cameras are going what I did and what happened, right? Statute of limitations up on some of you got to be careful, right? But the real deal is this. Even though, like, at this point in my life, I moved on, I know I don't have a whole bunch of friends, like close circles, and I don't trust everybody in an intimate space because of how I got into that fight or how I got jumped was because of homeboy. So, you know, I had a couple other situations with folks that's real close to me, right? And the most grievous things that can be done, guarding my heart. So like I'm looking at you like, oh, okay. And I'm embracing you, but deep down inside, I still got my eye. And that's a real space. Then I realize as a man, if I ain't transparent, if I can't open up, and I can't deal with this, then I'm gonna carry this into my situations. I'm gonna carry this into my children. I'm gonna be teaching my girl, I have 6 daughters, I'm gonna be teaching my girls some stuff about men, about the experience I had that I never let go. And I don't mean all men are like that, but that's what I carry. That's how I thought. And so tonight, man, I'm looking for our lives to be different, right? I want change to kind of be the fruit of what happens tonight. And it's not overnight, but it's over time. And I believe the conversation, right, when it begins, when it starts to break away at the pillars and the things that we foundationalize our identities on. Some of this stuff ain't okay, right? Some of the hardness of our hearts, man, like the brute thing that we carry, man, like that'll make you a man, right? And adversity, there's some things that we don't do that don't make you less of a man. So we gotta, what does that look like? What's that look like? So I'll open up tonight, man, and start to let you share. First, man, let's do some introduction. I know we had a little cool chicken, and I'm gonna get some more of that chicken. Like, feel free, you want some more, do your thing. We on chill mode tonight. You know what I mean? But here's the deal. I want you to introduce yourself and just kind of tell a little bit about yourself, just so we get an open space where everybody's like, okay, cool. I know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm dealing with. We might forget a name or two, but that's okay. But we'll start, Pat. We'll go around this way, and we'll end with Dave eating chicken on the camera.
Hey, everybody.
What up?
My name is Patrick Summers.
Hi, Pat. Right?
I'm Patrick Summers. I'm originally from Fayetteville, Tennessee. I'm 55 years old. I was up there originally with God, ordained for like 20 years with God. I left. Different guys was pushing me to go for more camp. And that's how I ended up here. I love the Lord. I love my wife. I love my family. Haven't known you guys for too long, but the ones I met, I've learned from to kind of love you too. It's a kind of love.
I kind of like that.
I work for GM. Been there for the last 5 years. Before GM, I worked for Nissan. I'm also a licensed barber. I don't put hair anymore, though. No problem. That's just basically it for me.
My name is Eris. I've been married for 5 years. I have a daughter who's she will be 4 next month. It's funny that we're even having this discussion. I'm young. I'm 29 years old, and I feel like I'm young. That's young. But it's funny. I feel like I'm, even though I've had 10 plus years, you know, of adulthood, I feel like I'm still coming into manhood in certain aspects. So I feel like this conversation, it'll definitely help me concerning, you know, being a parent and being a husband and growing in that way. So yeah, that's me.
How y'all doing? My name is Mike. I'm from North Nashville. I've been married as of September the 20th, coming up, it'll be 2 years. Got a little boy and son, it'll be 2 in December.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, I'm executive, Nashville, North Nashville. Got 4 boys. Been truck driving for about 5-6 years now.
That's it. All right. That's what's up. Welcome, man. Welcome.
What's up, y'all? I'm Cameron Peter Walls. I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois. I've been in Nashville since 2008. Moved here by way of Phoenix, Arizona. I am divorced, but I have a lot of lives, and I'm 40.
Work. Cam.
I'm Barry, or you can call me BG. I was born and raised here. I'm in the construction industry. I do asset management for a development company. I do some investing on the side. I don't have any kids, don't have any wife. So,
I don't know, singular, plural.
so although that's about it. I guess.
What the Lord say? You're right. You got 1, you got 6.
That's the one that you put inside your home.
Word, B. My name is Corey. The whole government. Corey Scott. I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 girls and 2 boys. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm still learning. I'm 48 years old. I've been called to the ministry since 2000. Well, no, it was 2000. 1998, man. So it's been a minute. And, I don't know. I love life now. You know, I've had some experiences. And I'm a divorcee as well, but my marriage now kind of made me forget what I did. Man. So that's a blessing. And it's a lot of guys in this group that I connect with. You know, even though I'm older, they encourage me and inspire me. So I'll do this some things, and we'll get to that later. But we're just glad to be here. So, from Chicago.
Thank you. Let it be known.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Been here since 2009 in Nashville. I met you when you were on my first day. Yeah. Exactly. Wow. Needed it, man.
My name is Mike. I'll be celebrating my 2nd year of marriage, September 1st.
Hey.
I got a beautiful little boy. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. We moved to Knoxville. We moved here to Nashville back in 2007. And yeah, I've been at SBS now for about 3 years. Yeah, it was I got to say, keep coming to SBS. It was like the last straw thing. I was like, all right, look, guys, you got one more thing. Like, that's how it was. I was like, man, for real. I was like, man, you give this thing one more chance. If not, it don't work out. And it's like, it is what it is. Like, yeah, I'm done for real. And I got here, and, you know, I found this story, and I was able to continue, like, start finding me. And in that, I'm up.
What's up?
Even in that retirement process, it's not been. It's continued. Like just when you think the fire is done, like you turn it back up, there's more stuff that changes. It's getting burning. So we're here for it, right?
That's what it is. Discuss, man.
I'm Charlie, I'm about to turn 50. I've been married 3 times. I got 6 kids. I've been going through some things. I've been in the streets all my life. Waiting there for I've just been out from home since I was 13. I left home. That was different. All I know is the street. Working, go to work, home and church, and friend of my wife told me about this. She goes with it, and she said it was a man's group. I was like, why? I need to get there, you know what I mean? Because sitting in his house, going to work, and sitting in his house with all these females. They nitpick and, you know, so I had to come and see what this was about, and I'm glad I came.
John, I'm glad you're here, my friend. Yes, sir. Uncle Charlie, last name Wilson.
My name is Ron. I have come from the port historic city of Savannah, Georgia, by the water. Been in Nashville since 1997. I'm a divorcee. I am a remarried, and I enjoy it. I have by marriage, well, by union, 4 girls. I got one that is on the way to college. She is about to be 19. December, about to carry her down to Memphis. Have anybody in Memphis? You know, I need to make some phone calls. You got some eyes on her already. A middle child is, well, then there's Nakaya. Nakaya is my wife's daughter. She and Sarah, who is about to be 18. Sarah is 17. Both of them are about to be seniors at the same time. We just got one that's going way off. 2 in there at the same time. And the lowest one is Gabrielle. She started high school, so we got a lot of changes going on. But glad to be here. Glad to be among you. We're preaching since 1991. Age 12. That journey.
My name is Larry.
Hi, Larry.
What's going on? I'm originally from Amory, Mississippi. I moved to Nashville in 2014. I came to Nashville. I was broken down, man. And I decided to allow God to be my foundation. Connected with Daniel Myrie. I've been up under his leadership for about 3.5 years. I'm on my 3rd marriage. It's the best thing that happened to me. I have 6 kids, and also I've been in since I was 14 years old. Yeah, that's me, and my wife is the best thing that ever happened to me.
How old are you now?
I'm 40. 40 years old. Yeah, with 6 kids. Yeah, 4 baby moms.
That's dope.
I love them all. I love everybody.
All the same.
Yeah.
Oh, John, we'll come back to you, Steve. Big John over there. You.
And who would be you?
I'm John. I'm originally from Indiana. I moved here in 2006. Best decision ever. I'm 38. I mean, it don't look like it, but God's been good. I just work right now. I plan to go to school soon. I do have my own business. Trying to get off the ground. My sweet tooth baked goods. Follow me on Instagram. Shameless plug.
Look, come on, shameless plug.
And I'm excited to be here. I almost got intimidated because I saw everybody here was married and had children, but I'm not there yet, but I came on anyhow. So.
Not everybody. Come on, not everybody. You right away, brother. Let go, Steve.
Hi, y'all. I'm Steve. I came here from Chicago in 2017. Met my fiance here, Regina. She also goes to the church. You know, it was tough for me moving from a fast pace to a slower environment, but I went to school in North Carolina, so I was kind of used to it. But everything I got here was from my effort. You know, I DJ. Every gig I got was off effort, and you know, I'm also a firefighter. I went out and got that on my own. Like, you know, people will judge you, but it's up to you to take that criticism and do what you want to with it. You know, people look at you and be like, "Oh, you think you this and you that?" No, you don't know what I've been through to get it. So, you know what I mean? A lot of this is for my. I'm 31. I just made 31 July 17th. So it's a lot of stuff that I realized being here that you don't have to put on the front for anybody to be yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my spiel. But when we get into it, you know, I'll give y'all my full layout and let y'all know like what I came from. So that's me. I'm just Steve.
Hi, Steve.
The entertainment. I'm the entertainment guy. You know? But I'm DJ for multiple. You know.
What's your DJ name?
Loose Cannon.
Loose Cannon.
Yeah, I like that.
Loose Cannon.
What's your stripper name?
Yeah. Hey, cut the camera off, Dave.
It's time. Broccoli. Something, man. Whatever. He's about to reveal the secret. My friend.
All right, Dwayne Lewis, man, church planter here in Nashville, born here and raised in Nashville, father, grandfather, got 4 boys and 4 girls. We're about to have an empty nest, twin boys, is going to MTSU, so we emptying them on out, you know what I mean? And my wife's still trying to figure out what we gonna do. And I told her, I said, I don't know what we ain't gonna do. But anyway, yeah, so that's me, man. Pastor Myrie, man, he and I are real great friends, man. And I was on this side of town, so let me get on up and see what the fellas talking about, man, because it sounds like a safe place.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm glad to be with you guys.
That's it.
My name is Julius Turnipseed. I'm 14 years old. I'm listening to ministry, but I'm not 14 years old. I go to Kip Collegiate High School, born and raised here in Nashville, Tennessee. Glad to be raised here. Came to FPDF about maybe 5 years ago. Me and my mom moved churches, but this is the one church that we stayed at. I really feel like it's like a good place to, you know, bond with people. I didn't really bond with people in other churches. I'm glad that I met Pastor and everybody else here. But yeah, I'm an athlete. I strive to be the best I can and get the sports, and that's just good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. More we have. I gave him one of them.
Well, my name is Beer White. I don't attend the church. I'm just here because Larry invited me out. But I'm born in Queens, New York, raised in the greater city. I've been here in Nashville now about 2 years. Father has, I have 5 kids. I'm about 6 kids. I have 5 kids, 4 girls and 1 boy. Divorced also. That's honestly about it. Just in a nutshell.
All right. Well, look, man, I want to get right to it. All right, I thought you switch seats.
I'm Reggie. I got I'm married. Been married. Feel like 50 years. 4 years. I got a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 15, 14, RJs 2. I could say like Larry, even though me and my wife, we still, kind of new to this marriage thing. She the best thing that happened to me too. She done taught me like more about myself than I know about myself. I'm from North Nashville. These 2 of my partners right here, we done went to the club together. We done did it all together. So why not, do this here together?
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's about, positivity. So I'm glad y'all here, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm holding back the tears because I ain't never like really invited none of my homeboys to church because I was kind of, I didn't know if it would come. I didn't know if it would come, you know what I'm saying? And I know we all done had a life, you know, that, you know, we ain't too, too fond of, but man, this right here, even just sitting in this circle, man, is therapeutic for me, you know. Going, when I was on the inside, we would be circled up like this, and just the intimacy, the vulnerability, whatever I'm trying to say. It helped, you know, when you can be honest with yourself, you know, and that helped, man. Even just seeing y'all, you know, just seeing everybody share, just seeing everybody, you know, be it it's a tough space, you know. It's hard to do this, you know. It's hard to get here, you know, just say certain stuff, but man, I feel good, man. I'm happy for y'all, man. I'm happy for y'all.
You got to get it. You got to get it. You hear me?
I don't got
Hey, Dave, back there. You got Dave talking to his buddy.
The man behind it all.
I thought you were about to forget about me.
No, you can't forget about me.
Too many,
Put yourself on camera.
put myself on camera.
There it is.
Wrong camera.
My
name's Dave.
Hi, Dave.
I'm originally from Chicago. 46. Like, surprisingly, like a lot. I'm on my second marriage. My first marriage lasted about 7 years. That landed me in California. She left, and I was in California. My best was probably not, you know, for some reason I didn't like myself out in California, but I enjoyed myself. But
Can you turn the camera off from there?
like I'm getting there, bro. But it's funny because while I was out in California, I think that song Tennessee came out. And I was like, man, I see myself in Tennessee. And little did I know, I came out to Tennessee for a family reunion, met my now wife, Lisa, who I've been married with. I've been together with 13 years, no, 14. Been married for 10. We have 2 daughters. One is 9, one just turned 7 today. Man, it's just like anybody who's going through it, you know, I'm glad I found that to be good. Now, I don't have any sons, but this man I've known since 2. You know, my wife and his mother, you know, really good friends, and it seemed like I raised him along with, you know, the rest of our brothers and stuff. So he's been a good big brother to my girls, and a son to me. So I regard him highly. Other than that, I'm glad to be here. I do pretty much a lot of stuff around here, so run around these cameras, and I'm just here to serve. So thank you. That's me.
Word. Word. And we have one of my good friend, Pastor Darrell, just jumped in. Pastor D.
What's up?
We just kind of introduced ourselves, tell a little bit about ourselves before we kind of get into some real discussion tonight. So,
I'm Pastor Darrell. I don't do nothing. I try to do what I can to help support Doc. That's my major role in work as the executive pastor here. I am plugged in a whole bunch of other areas throughout Nashville, hopefully, is as we continue to mature, continue to grow as a men's group, we look for opportunities to plug ourselves in some areas that might not be in our comfort zone. I think that's kind of critical, so that we get out of what I like to call the man box. That's that box that we've been put in as a society that says that these are the things, these are the perceptions, these are the way that we go about trying to show our masculinity and become real men. But I think somewhere along the line we missed it in a lot of areas, and so we continue to see generations coming behind us. There's a generation before us that had it somewhat right, they messed it up, so we didn't quite all get it. And then as we continue, we see men who really don't know how to be men. And I think it's our responsibility to get outside of our shell and nurture those who are coming behind us. So that's really my focus.
Thank you, sir. All right, y'all do me a favor. Let y'all repeat after me. I hold the key.
I hold the key.
I believe.
I believe.
It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's honesty.
It's honesty.
I want to talk about honesty. One of the most detrimental things to the life of a man is the inability to be honest with yourself and honest with those around you. If you, I, for whatever the reasons, we can talk about those, I hope some of that stuff comes up. But if we cannot be transparent, we choke the life out of the future inside of you. What am I meaning? You are to speak life. But if you can't be honest, what you speak is not life. Or if you're refusing to share because you've been choked out, then you don't plant any seed. And subsequently, we're used to planting seed in the wrong ways. All right? Arbitrarily, we've been fruitful a whole lot. But how many of us can be honest and say, I struggle with being honest? Right? So we're going to begin there. And transparency. I was doing a PowerPoint for some stuff at school. And as I'm putting the PowerPoint together, I put images, importing images to the PowerPoint. And they had this little button, this little lever that I could slide. And the name of the button was transparency. And God gave me this whole revelation. This was for us to talk about. But it was levels of transparency. And the level of transparency reveals an image. And unfortunately, the image that's casted is probably on a level of transparency that nobody can see what you really are, who you really are, what you really got going on. And so tonight, and I can begin if somebody else wants to start. I want to talk about, before we are transparent, before we are vulnerable, some of the things that stop us from being real. Keeping it 100, that's a name, that's a word on the street, you know what I mean? Like me, many of you, we know street talk, we know we come from the whatever, right? But are we honest for real? Are we transparent for real? And what are the things that stop us from being honest? All right? I'm gonna start, and then I'll let whoever wants to kind of piggyback and jump in. One of the things that I had to be reflective about that stops me from being honest is I was concerned about what people would think. I was overly concerned about what people would say. If I was transparent, if I was able to say what I really think, I wouldn't. I'd reserve that and I'd think it and I'd have it here. But I ain't got to tell you that. Because I don't want your perspective, your perception of me to change. And quite honestly, as I reflected on that, I realized some of the decisions in my life some of the things that I covered up, some of the things that I kind of held in and baited down, they came out in the wrong ways. They seeped out, right? It happened, but it manifested itself like not in a transparent way. It seeped out in some areas that it wasn't supposed to be, in that way. So I'm looking for something. I was searching for a way to be free. To be free. What are some other ways, man, that chokes out truth or chokes out our mode to be transparent? The idea of being honest.
Well, I think it was, when I first moved here, I think for me was, they had a perception of me because I was from a certain place. Like, oh yeah, you from Chicago, so, and you got this, you got that. Really, I didn't have a car when I first moved down here. I was going to take a check. I was just happy to be here with my girl, you know what I'm saying? So when we would go out, I see everybody buying drinks and stuff. I'm like, man, got a little money, but not knowing it's affecting my household. You know what I mean? She's like, well, y'all buying a drink, but too late on the rent. Or you want to go out every day, but you don't want to spend no time with me. So it's my perception that I couldn't do the same thing I was doing in Illinois or Chicago, because I was living with my mama. I ain't had no responsibility.
Keeping up the image.
Yeah, I had money because I was living with my mama. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to spend no money. Whereas when I get here, responsibilities went from 0 to 1,000, and now I ain't gotta please my mama. I got a whole another human being that's dependent on me as a man. So, those are the things that I had to realize, that it's time to grow up and not living that college lifestyle no more, where you gotta be a man. Now, I won't say I wasn't taught, but it's certain tools that I wasn't taught to learn how to lead.
And it's okay to say you wasn't taught, bro.
Yeah. I said it was certain things that I wasn't taught, and one of them was to lead a household, because my mom and my stepdad, my mom was always, she made the money or whatever, and then she met my stepdad, then it would, but I grew up with my mom, and that's who I watched. She had a bill book and everything, but I wasn't in that room with her to see it. I'm like, my mom's gonna pay the bills, I'm gonna go play sports, get out there, go to college and do what I need to do. And I did, but then when it's time to reverse and come back, it's like, dang, okay, my credit is this, I got this much money, I ain't got no savings account, I got this, I got that, I'm gonna check the check. And then it goes back to a full 360. Hey, how can you change this? But it took my fiance to sit me down like, look, she didn't fault me for it, she didn't have no ill feels, you wasn't taught, this is what we gonna do, and we gonna do this. So, it's just about not impressing your crowd or your circle. Just be you, man, and really live in the way that you want to live without having to impress everybody around you.
That's good.
Let me jump on that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we have on the social tip is, to your point, we don't oftentimes have our own definition of what success looks like for us. We measure it by everybody else's stick. And whether or not we want to acknowledge it socially, manhood is a monolith. There is one idealism of what qualifies manhood. And depending on where you come from determines the little nuances of it, but the reality of it is there is a block construct of what defines manhood socially in this country.
It's that man box.
And the thing is, we're not cultured to know that success for me looks a certain kind of way, success for you looks another. I was just talking to a young homie of mine, and I was saying how I hate to hear people say that you got to get up at 5 a.m. to start your day. And the reason why I hate that is, though it's true for people who have been successful, it's not true for me, because I don't go to bed till 6. So while everybody else was asleep, I was doing my work.
Right.
And so the truth is, if I hadn't gained a certain sense of security in that concept, I would be thrown off trying to keep up with everybody else's perception of what I have to do to be successful in their eyes.
Yeah. So image is one of those things that kind of helps us mirage the truth.
Part of it is image. I think part of it is perception and understanding, and even self-awareness.
I think it's when you talk about being honest, for me and I think I've changed just because I've matured But initially, I didn't want to be honest because it gave me the same result as lying. So if I'm honest and you hurt me, or if I'm honest with you and then we argue, and if I'm honest with you and I get fired, or if I'm honest with you and you think I'm a nigga or whatever, if the result of me being honest is more hurtful than me lying, then I'm gonna usually lie.
Afraid of the result.
Because we say we want honesty, but we don't want honesty. Like especially in relationships or anything. And as a man, if you're not taught how to be honest regardless of the result, you're gonna lie. You don't even see honesty as an option, because if you 2 years old and then your mama say, be honest, and then she beating you upside your head.
You are.
Then you're 7 years old. Well, what happened here? And you be honest, she beating you upside your head. By the time you're 10 and 11, you know I don't see the benefit of being honest.
Woo.
And then you also carry that into a relationship.
Yeah.
Girl, well, what are you doing? You like her? Yeah, I like her too.
Yeah.
You see how that is? but I'm just saying, like when you're in your 20s or when you're young, we don't teach the full dynamics of what honesty is. It sounds good, but if you want honesty, it has to be taught from the root up.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, well, let's be honest. No, nigga, you gotta be honest. You have to be honest with the result of honesty.
Yeah.
Hey, am I gonna get this shot? It's gonna pinch a little bit, but it's good for you. With honesty, as men, we just want what we want without being honest. Because we've been taught, even in the slave days, hey, master, I don't want to work today. Wow! Hey, and I'm there, and that's why this was weird, and I want y'all to tell me if I'm wrong. That's why a lot of people preference what they say. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Because they don't even know how to accept it from themselves. Their own DNA is fighting honesty. So they gotta say it to believe it themselves before they express it out their mouth. So that's one thing about honesty as men. Like as an older man now, I'm gonna be honest regardless, without the result. But as a younger man, I wish we expressed that to these young men, that sometimes the result of honesty might hurt you.
Yeah.
It might put you in a bind, but it keeps your character intact. If I would have learned that younger man, that's not an excuse, but if you want to be honest about honesty, sometimes the result of honesty ain't what we want.
And I think that's what we've been afraid of.
Yeah.
And honestly, you're right, Tori, that's something that we're conditioned young. You know what I mean? That when I'm honest, there's going to be a penalty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so to avoid the penalty, let me do all I can so I don't have the repercussions of me being, straight up with you, transparent with you. Anybody else?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I ain't gonna lie, coming up in the hood, I saw my dad lie about everything. So he taught me how to get away with stuff. I lied about everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I cheated at school on tests. I lied to the principal. I got to go to the bathroom. I'm going back here to smoke some weed. I lied about everything. I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't gonna lie.
But now, as I pick it back off what Russ said, I'm more mature now, and I can accept, being truthful. I'll be telling the truth I was soft, because how I saw things as growing up. My dad cheated on my mom, and I was a little bitty boy, and I was seeing it, but I realized how that affected me. Over a few years back, I still lie. Like, I go to court, I lie. I lie to the police. I lie to the judge, to my lawyer. My lawyer helping me, and I'm lying to him. So it was just like, it was the thing to do to get out of trouble, was to lie or to be dishonest with somebody. Even my mama, she said, growing up, I burned myself on the stove. She said, what happened to you? Nothing. But the stove open in my hand is blistered, I lied, I wasn't being honest, but I trained myself to lie, and get away with it. But now, I don't have I'm cool now. I should tell y'all this now. You can trust me now. Don't say y'all. I ain't tell you. I'm good now, but I don't have a problem being honest now because I'm mature, and I think being dishonest online is a place of immaturity. You know, I had to grow. You know, and if you lie about little simple stuff, you lie about being dishonest about this little small stuff. You lie about. You know.
Let me ask you this. I hear you, Reg, and I know you say you put it away, and I believe you, man. But if the weight is great enough, have we overcome the lie? I'm just being honest. If the weight is great enough, you know what I mean? If you're at the expense of losing your family and your home, and are you? And I'm saying this from my read space, so I'm gonna take pride out of it, right? Like this is my read right now. I love me some Jesus. I got integrity. I believe like I'm good. But I'm being straight up with you. There are times when I looked at my taxes, he's our financial person on our ministry. So he knows my tax situation, he knows my financial 4K, he knows and I was thinking like, Lord, we can't pay all that. Right? So what do we got to do? And convicted, but I'm going to be honest with you, the weight of it had my mind wrestling with, what do I tell them? And I'm saying, so again, when I'm talking about honesty and transparency, I'm talking about me. I ain't talking about just, what you might have going on. I'm a whole pastor in these streets. But I realize that sometimes the weight of something being so heavy makes you wrestle with your integrity.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes you wrestle with it. Like, what is the depth of this thing, and how will it impact the whole scene? And then I call there. Okay, there you got talking now. He said, okay, bro, you might just gonna have to pay this one. You got to call somebody you can counsel with and talk to, help you through some stuff. Because if I hadn't talked to him, I don't know what number I wrote down. I'm being honest, but I'm telling you the weight though. Because fear can be one of those things. And I wasn't going to say it, I thought somebody else was going to say it, but fear can be a thing that pushes you out of like knowing what's right and being honest with you. Dave, then Cameron.
I was going to say, when I lied, it was almost like I was lying to myself, because I was lying and telling myself that I'm doing it for the other person. Whenever I used to lie to Lisa, it was...
Say used to real loud on camera.
Used to. Long time ago. It was stupid lies, like, oh, did you take the garbage out? Sure. And I was like, oh, baby, yeah, I got that. The garbage sitting right there. And I used to think I'm doing it to please her when I had to look into myself and through counseling and everything and find out selfishly I was doing it to myself, to please myself. And I was just hurting her when I thought that, and in essence, any lie that I, do at work, am I helping at work? Hey, did you do that project? Yeah, man, I got it done. Nowhere near done. And we started, they even, type one letter. And I'm thinking, okay, this is what the bosses want to hear. So yeah, but now I'm hurting myself. I'm not only hurting them, I'm hurting myself because now I have to do the work and get it done and work at the last minute, so on and so forth. And it wasn't until, and you almost have to practice not to lie. When you practice honesty, then you take, like Daniel said, the fear, when fear was entering it, but when you practice honesty, you take the fear out of the equation. Like, it's almost like, hey, now it's like, hey, did you wash the dishes? No, I didn't wash the dishes. Now, a pan might go flying across the, kitchen at my head, or she'd be like, all right, can you do it later? Most of the times, 99% of the times, it's, all right, do it later, whatever. Once you take the fear out of it, then the honesty is easier, comes out easier.
Okay, so what is like?
Hold on, I think Mike and then Barry will come to you.
I'll say like, not even to the point of just like the lying part, like of holding in, you know, how you live, you're honest word and everything. I think for me where I struggle is because I don't know if it comes from a sense of people pleasing or rejection, but I feel like I'm either being mocked or I'm not being heard. So if I don't feel safe or feel like you're not really taking my word, what I'm saying, like if it's being honest about what I'm dealing with, it's being honest how I feel, just being honest that I might have messed up on something or whatever. I always kind of felt like I've been mocked, you know, like nobody should be hearing me. So it's always like, so then it turns to a thing like nobody understands, so I just not gonna be honest because what's the point? Because you're gonna mock me or you're just gonna like go ahead and project whatever other things you already think. You know what I'm saying? So
That's good. That's good. I mean, and these are all things I think, guys. We're gonna deal with the healing side of this in a minute on this particular issue, but I think we got to get out a number of things that puts us there. Because quite honestly, man, one of the things that kills our manhood is not being a man of your word. That cuts your manhood at the core. So as men, we want respect. As men, we want honor. And there's nothing more like disrespectful and dishonorable than a lie. That's the biggest dishonor you can have. So you cut the root and the core of who you are on your own without anybody's help when I tell you something that's not it. And when I deceive you, that stops the honor. That stops the respect. For those of us who are married, those are a few of us that are not, but those of us who are married, I promise you, you want to talk about disrespect and dishonor in your house, let her not believe you no more. Just real talk. When she no longer believes your word, you will not have honor in your home. You won't have honor. And now, you can point to all the other problems that comes from dishonor, but the real deal is stop blaming the fruit. Right? We got to talk about the tree. And the tree was, I cut my word off. Right? Right? And word, we know, if you kind of study biblically, word comes from the same word we get sperm from, right? Spermia, which means word and seed. So catch this. If what I'm planting, I hope y'all hear this in the Holy Ghost. If what I am planting and putting and sowing in my family, in my community, watch this, is a tree of dishonor, guess what's going to happen? You bear the fruit of disrespectfulness. You bear the fruit. And it's like, man, it ain't okay for you to do that. I mean, you're right, but that's the fruit you get. I mean, you're right. It's not okay. It's not justification. But that's the answer. You know what I mean, to the problem you created. Does that make sense? Barry, then Reggie, then Bob.
For me, like whenever like that weight is on me a lot, it's like you can always trace it back to, like you said yourself, which is really just pride. Because I don't want to deal with how that's gonna make me feel. Man. I don't want to deal with how what they're gonna say if I didn't do what they asked me to do. All that stuff is just like rooted in the pride because it's still all about you. So it's like for me, it's just and when you wrestle with it, I guess coming like when you get more mature and you know you're doing it, and even when you get to the point where you know that like Dave said that you ain't probably gonna throw nothing at me, you probably just gonna be like do it later, and we've already made it in our mind way worse than it really is most of the time, not all the time, but I feel like that's all coming from just me wanting to feel the way I want to feel. I won't feel this way. So I'm gonna tell you,
avoiding the feelings that come after something failure. Right? Yeah.
All of it. It's just like, because you're proud, how you feel about it.
That's good. That's good, Pete. Reg, and then I think Ron, then Larry, then Ron.
Go ahead. That's what I was.
The what I hear is the lie.
Say it again.
The what is the lie.
But
why? Why lie? And the lie, what happens is in relationships, it actually takes away the person's voice to make a decision to say what they're going to receive or not. That didn't come from a man, it came from a woman. So the reality of it is, it makes them feel, so you take away my ability to choose if I'm gonna deal with what your truth is or not. And so we don't want to tell the truth because out of fear of retribution of what it's gonna be. But then also now that's manipulation and control. Because now I'm actually controlling you indirectly by protecting myself from the lie. So that's why I say it's not just the what, it's the why. And if we can ever tap into the why, a lot of these things are maladaptive coping mechanisms. A couple of sin is selfish. All this is going to do is protect itself from being rejected, from being abandoned, from being. But at the end of the day, that's why it's so important. I'm saying that lie. I did this years ago, and I'm finished. 6th grade. What is a lie? You ask if you don't ask your kids, what is a lie? Why would you lie? And you know what I'm telling you what they would say all the time? To protect myself.
I back around the fear there, though.
Yeah, it's always good. Yeah.
I used to have an honest problem because I couldn't be honest with myself. Have you guys ever got to the point that the reason why you couldn't be honest is because you were simply ashamed of yourself? Ashamed of the things that you used to do? I'm on my 3rd marriage. I didn't know how to be a man because I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't know how to be a father. I was lost. These past 4 years, I'm just not now learning how to be a man and a husband and a father. I was ashamed of myself. I didn't have a father, didn't have a mother. I talked to my parents every day. But by them not being in my life, I grew up in the streets, so I would just look at all the different men, white, black, Hispanic, and I was trying to put everybody in the pots and try to make myself complete. And once I stopped trying to fake it until I make it, myself,
that stuff.
Even though I didn't have
You gotta
my
face it
father,
to make it.
God is my father.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with him so he can be honest with me. And that's why now I tell my wife everything. I mean, everything. She tells me to shut up. We're gonna get down to some stuff, man. But yeah, I'm glad everybody heard about it.
You mentioned something, Larry, that I think is positive, man, for us to really reflect on. And it's, if you can't be honest with you, it's impossible to be honest with you. You gotta be able to tell yourself the truth, right? And I think as you deal with the truth in yourself, and shame is a real deal, and that's a conversation may come up if we have time. Like, most men are ashamed of our actions. Real talk. Like we taught as a young child, to do certain things, but not to tell about it. And to keep it private. And to keep it secret. And to hold on to it. Right? But again, it's okay. Just kind of bang that down. And I will tell you, we have been granted as men access to failure. Right? We've been granted as men access. We got this open door for failure to be okay. Right? It's actually one of those things, man, where it's promoted to be negative. How many, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but how many of your dads that were maybe possibly in your life or moms in your life was cool with you having whatever one you wanted? But your sister, they couldn't do that. But now he a boy. He all right. You can date what you want. Right? He a boy. So you cool. But you gonna be looked like as a whole, sister, if you do that. But he just being a boy. He just being a man. And here I am, 44, right, with 6 daughters by 3 different women. And if the truth be told, I probably had a whole bunch more and just didn't make it. It's real. But again, poster child, good kid, but it wasn't no trip for me to be with her. I ain't like her no more. I ain't dating her. I'm good right here now. Right? I'm not done. I'm good. We ready. It wasn't no trick, right? It was more so make sure you protect yourself.
Wow.
Right? And what happens is, in the mindset of the psyche of a broken man, is that I grow up shielding my real self.
Yeah.
When I thought I was strapping up to protect from a baby or STD, I was really putting a condom on my mind.
Yeah.
I was no longer able to be authentic where I went. Right? So I'm saying to everybody, like, what are the things, man, that allow us to, like, lie to us, protect us from us? Because the truth of the matter is, if you heard a real word about who you were, get a shirt, man. That's who we are. I know you heard it, but how many of you live like that, man? Who lives like a king right now? You know what I mean? Like, for real. Or is there some kind of shame over the life of a man because of actions? Because of, I gotta stay in these streets to survive. I gotta do this to keep whatever, woo, woo, woo. And we make all these excuses for where we are. We got a whole, and we've been trained. Let me tell you, I'm telling me. And let me tell you something. I grew up in a Christian home. My mom was saved where I was born. You know, praise my dad. Amen. Good daddy, though.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? He was 50 when I was born. Like, I was like, that's my man, 50 grand. Like, I love the pieces. You know, good dude. But from what he came from and shaped and all of that, like, if I'm the product of my dad's seed, then I don't wonder I have issues in certain areas. Yeah. It's real tough, right? Abandonment issues. Yeah. I struggle with abandonment. Y'all don't even know that, but I do, right? But I know how, because I've done some homework. Oh man, this is deep rooted. This ain't just started, you know, with the girl who left me.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's easy to blame her for how that rolled out and popped off. The real deal is she just allowed that thing to come up. Right? And so we got to find some ways to acknowledge some of this stuff. And then we're going to cancel it. We'll do some canceling in a minute. My brother Ray, I thought you was next.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's
I wanted to piggyback off of something Larry said. He was talking about. I just had a blank out. But matter of fact, yeah. So when you lie, we lie for our image. Yeah, we lie, you know, to preserve ourselves. But sometimes you lie to fix, like to fix yourself, to gather yourself, so that when you can present the truth that they was looking for, and that's a part of that. There was something I wanted to piggyback off of Pastor Round. What he was saying is to protect yourself. Everybody as human beings, we have what's called like self-preservation, and like we do what we know to do to preserve ourselves. And then when we come on the other side of the cross, and when we come to Christ and we become a new creature, that self-preservation should not stop, but it looks different. So now I'm where I lie to protect myself because I'm a new creature in Christ now. Now I know that the truth is gonna make me free, and so that way, hey, even though the result is this hurt and this pain, it's gonna bring about something in me. You know what I'm saying? That is positive, and so it's still like a self-preservation, but it's something that needs to be practiced. Like, you know, you have to practice in Christ. But those were the two things that I want to mention.
Okay. Good stuff.
I'm just gonna pick it back off my man's deal. You know, I done been married 3 times, and 2 of them is because I lost because of lies. You know, I had a father, but didn't nobody raise me. You know, I raised myself. I seen what was going on in the streets, and that's how I live. You know, I take your money, you know, lie to you, sell your drink, you know, and it just was me, you know what I mean? Any means necessary, I'm gonna survive it. But, you know, I'm married to my 3rd wife, and, you know, I've lied, you know, I have not been all the way truthful with her, but the lies I tell, she already knows it's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Before I can even tell the lie, she is a lie. You know, she's like, baby, come on, sit on the couch. That's a lie. That's a lie. And you went over there. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, I just started here on my third marriage, learning to be a man. You know, I thought money would be the man. You know, I need you
Make
this.
you man.
Yeah, I need you this. You ain't gonna say nothing. You know, it's just I didn't know no better.
Yeah.
Nobody taught me. You know, nobody taught me. You know, so it's crazy. You know, but I love my wife to death, and she the reason I'm here now. You know, so thank y'all, man.
Oh man, that's good, man. Mike?
I just want to say, 9 times out of 10, if your wife asks you a question, you already know the answer.
She already know, yeah.
And I've been through a lot of that. A whole lot. More than you. The camera had to be out. Anyway. Nah. But I've just learned that because, you know, well, I don't mind telling you. Like, I did 19 years in prison. So, with that being said, you know, I've been through a lot. But I'm just not catching on to the part about when your wife asks you a question about something, you say, she already know the answer. And I guess after so long of me saying, she told me that. So, all I could do was call Reggie. And when I call him, guess what he tell me? I already know. I hang up on him then. But yeah, like, women they question you just, I mean, you might not like the result.
Don't be afraid to do so.
Yeah, I start sweating. Anyway.
Them endorphins started.
You got a question?
Yeah, I just got a question. You ever been so deep in a lie that you start to believe your own lie?
Yeah.
You in a different world, you like, oh man, this might work. You know?
This might work.
But shit. But I'm speaking on because I can't speak to y'all. But me personally, I've been in a spot where, and this ain't just relationship, this family.
Hey Dave, cut the cameras from
yeah. I done been so deep into a lie where I start believing my own lie. And once you start it, it's like a little bitty snowball just rolling downhill that you can't stop. Because once it gets to that breaking point, you're gonna die with the lie. That's how it goes. You know what I mean?